The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
I'd like to start out today's show by sending out our condolences to K-State Director of Football Recruiting Taylor Braet. Today, his dad passed away. Announced by Taylor Braet on social media is where I first saw it. Taylor Braet's dad, Steve Braet, was a coach at Butler for, 42 years.
Yep.
Defensive line coach. To me, he's a legend.
Oh, 100%.
Want to share what Coach Taylor Braet said on social media today. I love you, Dad. Nothing could quite prepare us for today, not even your long battle with cancer. You have always been my hero and always will be. No words can ever describe how much the family and I will miss you. You are so special, made our family special. Nothing can replace what you meant to us. You battled hard, and now you can finally rest. That was a part of it. That really hit, and it made me think about, I'm sure all of us have had some sort of battle with cancer, not talking about just, us personally. I have not, but knows somebody that has had a battle with cancer. Shout out to my friend Jamie Spikes, who's had multiple battles with cancer, yet she still remains to be, not let it defeat her. Still the sweetest, kindest person I think I've ever met. Still comes out here once a month to deliver some goodies. Treats me way too well. She is a warrior. Unfortunately, too many people have succumbed to their battles with cancer. And I wanted to open up today and talk about Steve Braet, because this gentleman deserves it. And to me, like I said, is a legend. Owen worked with him.
I did, yeah. I was a filmer at Butler for their football team for about a year and a half, so definitely worked at some close quarters with Coach Braet before.
If you got stories, I do want to hear them, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But, 40-plus years at one stop is a run.
Yeah, not even one stop, one position. He was never anything but
position.
a D-line coach there, yeah.
And that career started back in 1979. And, if you're like us and you play, if I can talk, pay close attention to K-State recruiting, and I want to give a shout out to Ryan Lackey, who did me a ginormous solid today, because I was trying to think of, okay, the Butler K-State connection. There's obviously a lot of names, but my memory is terrible. I had two names come to my mind right away, Ty Zentner and Byron Pringle.
Yep.
That went to Butler. Of course, Malcolm Alcorn Crowder, who played defensive line, not for Coach Braet. Coach Braet had left the team because I think his last season was 22.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember which one.
And so, they didn't have that connection. But Malcolm Alcorn Crowder will luckily, I'm glad he is, figured out what needed to be figured out, and he's going to be with the Cats this year with 3 years of eligibility remaining. I think that guy can be a boss
100%
on the defensive line for K-State. But I was like, I asked nicely, like, Ryan, do you have a list of names by chance of the K-State Butler connection? He's like, I don't have necessarily, anything I can go to right away. But he did me such a solid. He started going through roster by roster all the way back to 1999 to just give me some names. And
wow.
That talks about, though, the connection that K-State has had with Butler Community College for such a long time. One of the first names I saw pop up here, and one of my favorite names from back in the day, Owen, you probably don't remember, Troy, you might, but Jermaine Berry popped out immediately off of this list. Jermaine Berry played defensive line, played some D tackle at Butler, and then transferred to K-State. He was on that 2003 Big 12 championship team. He was a starter on that 03 Big 12 championship team. I remember specifically him rolling up on Vince Young, like rolled his ankle. Hurt him in that Texas game that was in Austin. K-State lost that game, but I remember that tackle because K-State almost had a safety. He got out, but then got rolled up on by Jermaine Berry. I can remember Wyatt. I can remember Wyatt Thompson calls because there were a number of games. I remember we were like in a weird transition with our cable companies in Morganville. And so for a while we were going with DirecTV, but at that time you could not get local channels with DirecTV. You got channels out of Chicago because satellite companies were not they did not have the agreement, I guess, with Topeka channels.
Yeah.
So we only got channels out of Chicago, which was interesting for a while, but could not watch like the Nebraska game.
Ouch.
In 03. Had to listen to it on the radio. I remember hearing Jermaine Berry's name called multiple times. Jermaine Berry is just one of many guys through Butler that K-State had a connection with. And I feel like we are so blessed to have a guy like Taylor Braet, Steve Braet's son, who's been on the staff for a long time. I think his run with K-State has now entered adult years. He's been around this long. But what a vital piece to K-State's success, the Braet family.
Mm-hmm.
So more on Steve Braet. In his 42 seasons, 6 national championships, 81, 98, 99, 03, 07, and 08. I was reading this a bio of his earlier, and by the way, multiple All-Americans, multiple guys that went on to be NFL draft picks. I'll go to Owen on this one. In the bio, I read that on the sidelines you could hear his loud, the word gruff was used.
Yeah, you definitely. I was on top of the scoreboard at BG Product Stadium, and you could hear him from that nearest end zone. We used to climb up the back of that thing to record practices over there, and he would always work in the end zone closest to us. So it wasn't too far, but we're pretty high up in the air, and boy, you could hear that gruff from a mile away.
If there was a position you wanted that kind of coach, the loud voice, the gruff voice, the one that caught your attention, you want those coaches tutoring the guys in the trenches.
100%. Yeah. The only one.
Because it's a gruff position.
It is, 100%. The only spot you could ever see him coaching would be the other side of the ball in the trenches. So he was definitely in the mud with the guys.
During his time at Butler, 337 wins, 118 losses, a couple of draws. And again, that's in 42 years. Won 22 conference championships, won 22 Jayhawk conference championships. That is an impeccable run. Just off the charts run. He's in the Butler Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Steve Braet needs to be in the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Anything else coming to mind? Oh, and I'm sure you have a story or two. First of all, background. Let's go over the background. When were you at Butler?
So I was at Butler. I got there in 2017 was my freshman year. I didn't start filming until I think it was the spring of 2018. I had lost my scholarship at the time and was looking for a way to pay for school. And the safeties coach at the time was like, hey, we need filmers. And I was like, hey, I like football. I'll do that. And sure enough, and I think Coach Abbott's office, he was our film director, was just one door down from Coach Braet's. And again, you can hear that voice from a mile away. And he was such a great guy. I remember a road trip, I want to say it was Independence, and we're stopping at a McDonald's to get food on the way out there. And so they're sending 2 or 3 filmers, but of course, everyone's worried about the players eating and all these things. And so, you're just kind of hoping that something's left over at the end. And Coach Braet butted his way through the line, pushed a couple of his own D linemen out of the way, and made sure that we had food to eat. And was just a stand-up guy. Could have been a head coach for 30 of those 42 years if he wanted to be. And just loved being in the trenches too much to ever move up. He wanted to be right where he was at. He had no aspirations to go up because he knew that the spot for him was working with those guys in the middle of the line, and not enough could be said about how great of a coach, but more importantly, how great of a person he was. So,
that reminds me of some of the coaches I had growing up. I could see them doing those kind of things for you.
Yep.
Which just tells you about their personality. And that just tells me that stand-up guy is probably really fun to be around. You probably don't want to get chewed out by them. They could probably give you a royal.
Yeah, you never. Yeah, and I've messed up a couple drills recording it every once in a while. Luckily, I never messed up on his, because if I ever messed up a D-Line 101 drill, you didn't hear the end of it for a couple days.
Did you always go on the road with them?
Yeah, we were the only team in the Jayhawk Conference to send filmers to every road game and every home game. Most teams would just film their home games, and then they would get filmed from the road. We sent every game.
That's a little surprising. Not surprising that it would be Butler.
Yeah, exactly.
The program that would have – because, I mean, it's every – I found a list earlier, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I think it was put out there when Steve Braet retired. And it was a list of, like, every player from that era that made it to the NFL. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm going to put this mouse up to the microphone if I can. The scroll. I had to scroll a little bit to get to the bottom of that list. Yeah. Butler is moving guys on to the D1 level all the time. It's a number of guys. So that doesn't surprise me at all. What'd you have what'd you have to eat? What did he get you?
I think they had 2 McChickens and a double cheeseburger for every player, which I was like, that's a lot of food for an entire football team to have 3 sandwiches apiece. But, yeah, I ate 2 of them, and I think I gave my 3rd sandwich to one of the linemen that needed a 4th one at the time.
I remember one time I was with K-State.
4th one at the time.
I was with K-State baseball, and I think we had just got into Los Angeles from LAX, and we're busing up to the San Fernando Valley. I can't remember what series it was, but I think Pete just took over. So that would have been, I can't remember now, Northridge. I think it may have been Northridge, CSUN.
Yeah.
And we go to Chick-fil-A, and if you're in the media and you go to you cover a K-State event, once in a while you'll get Chick-fil-A
correct
as the meal, and there's a sandwich, there's chips, and a cookie. This box had 2 sandwiches, had chicken nuggets, had the chips, had fruit, had the cookie. I was like, I could do this for a living.
Yeah, right.
Because I felt super pampered.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, they take care of their players.
Let's see if there's anything else in this bio that I definitely need to share. So I guess Steve Braet did have a short run at Wichita State.
I didn't know that.
For just a second, maybe, if I read this right. But then, I mean, most of the career was at Butler.
The sheer length of the career and how many dots I was able to connect through my life. And I grew up in Derby in the Wichita area. And I remember going into his office one day. Firstly, huge shout out to DeMarcus Lawrence. He had a huge framed jersey. It was DeMarcus Lawrence's Pro Bowl jersey. Because when he made the Pro Bowl for the first time, he actually flew Braet out to Hawaii and had him on the sidelines and gave him the full treatment and everything. That was super cool. And I'm looking at the rest of his pictures on the desk. This guy's been here for 40 years. There's tons of stuff littered around his office. I'm looking at this picture on his desk, and I'm like, man, this guy looks familiar. And I realize that my assistant principal in high school and my gym coach from elementary school both played D-line at Butler for Coach Braet. And I was like, what? And also, that same gym coach was also a high school cheerleader with my aunt in Wichita way back when. And I was like, this is insane. I'm like, this guy has been here forever. And it really paints the picture to have his player be my administrator through high school and then get there and see that picture of him. Yeah, he's been around.
Well, if there's 2 high schools that I've certainly ran into in my time that I could relate to as a JUCO, Derby and Topeka Hayden.
Yeah, definitely the 2.
I played Topeka Hayden my very last game ever in high school, and they killed us. And the whole O-line, I think, went on to play college football. They won the state championship, and they were huge. I'm like, why are you guys double-teaming me? I said that at one point. It's like I tackled. I got 2 faces in my face. I'm flat backed on the ground. They both helped me up, and when I get up, I'm like, "Why are you guys double teaming me?"
Oh, that's
and they laughed. It was, my back was hurting and all that. It was a rough day. Derby up there as well. They're always passing on guys to the D1 level, Power 5.
Yeah, Power 5.
Power 5 level. Glad to have Dylan Edwards
100%
on the team now. But anything else you want to share about Steve Braet before we Take a break.
Like I said, a fantastic individual and a great football coach. There may be some other coaches that I've met in my time, because I've done media stuff through high school and college, that may be in the same stratosphere as him as far as coaching goes. I wouldn't say that I've ever met a coach that was better than he was, and I don't think I've met a person in that line of work that just takes care of the people around him more than he did. So all thoughts and prayers out to the Braet family. It's a huge loss for Butler, for K-State, and the entire state of Kansas. And I do agree with you, should be in the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. I'm honestly kind of shocked he's not already there. You'd think after 40 years they'd get him in there. Definitely needs to happen in the future.
Let's go ahead and take a timeout. When we come back, we still have K-State baseball tickets to give away. We're going to give a pair each. We're going to give a couple of pairs away in hour number 2. So stick around. In hour number 2, we'll also play a game that we like to play every year, and it's called Real or Fake Kentucky Derby Horse Names. It'll be Owen versus Troy.
Ooh.
Plus, in hour number 1, Troy will ask the question once again, are the Royals doing okay since today is an off day? When we come back, we will talk some Batcats, as last night was rough in Lincoln. That's next. We are back on the game. Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and Owen Burke with us, with you till 6 o'clock. It's our only full show of the week. Royals are off today, or so are the Cats. K-State baseball will be back in action tomorrow as they open up a 3-game series at Toyton Family Stadium. The Sunflower Showdown against the Kansas Jayhawks. KU might be the hottest team in America right now. They have a 7-game winning streak as they will come into Manhattan. And they have the second best record on the road in Big 12 play at 6-3 to the Jayhawks. K-State obviously looking for a bounce back after last night. By the way, we'll have 2 pairs of tickets in the next hour to give away for K-State KU. It'll be for Friday's game, which, by the way, I'm told it's sold out. But how do we get some tickets? We must know some people.
Those weren't laying on my desk, I hope.
No.
Okay,
I was handed a separate 4.
Okay, just making sure.
Wouldn't that be? That would be great. We're handing away tickets, and they're Troy's tickets.
I mean,
so.
I'm taking a couple of friends, so
that would have been great.
Yeah.
Sorry, Troy. We need you to make it a sacrifice. We need a giveaway today.
Oh boy.
No, we had another 4.
Okay, just making sure
to give away. I hate to say it, but man, a couple of times this year, Nebraska has just had our rear ends.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep. Unfortunately.
Yep.
Just some real, what in the hell happened? And it's taken a while to get over what happened when Nebraska came here for basketball, because the Go Big Red, this has happened twice in my life, where, I'll give them their due. They won the games. But the 2 most haunting moments I've ever had at a game in Manhattan have had to do with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 2010, when Taylor Martinez ran all over the yard.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Thursday night game. I spent $70 on a ticket. I drove from Cloud County Community College for the game to watch the Cats in Nebraska play one more time. And that sucked. And then this past season with men's basketball, that was a brutal second half. And they Go Big Red. It was just, I know it was maybe 100 Nebraska fans in there, but it sounded like 12,000. At least to me it did. That sucked.
Yeah, how many of those 100 did you know? And how many of those 100 were the same ones that traveled for the NCAA tournament and were disappointed?
I didn't know a single one of them. I do know Nebraska fans. I do know some. I'm pretty sure every one of them drove to Memphis for the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
that was a consolation prize for me. I can't speak for you guys,
true,
right?
But I took I took all of that as a consolation prize for getting our and I say I mean K-State's butts kicked in that day. That sucked, but at least they still don't have an NCAA tournament win all time. And then last night, at a stadium name that's way too long,
I think Troy purposely put that in the update just to make me
No,
mad,
it's
to make me
It's
mad.
the official name.
Hawksfield at Haymarket Park.
I know it's the official name, but
If it is a Nebraska game, that is the official name.
fair enough.
If it is a
Because they share the stadium, right?
They do with a minor league team known as the Salt Dogs. Now, if it's a Salt Dogs game, it is strictly Haymarket Park.
Whose minor league team is that?
They're not. They're independent league, the same league as the Kansas City Monarchs.
I was about to say something, but
The Lincoln Salt Dogs?
Anyway,
The Lincoln Salt Dogs.
last night was an 8-0 loss for the Cats. What was worse about it is that was a no-hitter for Nebraska. It was Nebraska's Jackson Brockett, goes 9 innings, 107 pitches, and it was a no-hitter. It was the first 9-inning no-hitter for Nebraska since 1954. I wish I could go back and say, well, it's been that long since K-State has been a victim of a no-hitter. Well, the last one was 3 years ago. 2KU in Lawrence. That was a bad day as well. K-State has actually, I think we talked about this last week, Troy. K-State has had a rough April.
Very rough April.
As they finished the month 8-10, they're slipping a little bit in RPI. They're still top 40, but they're still slipping. I remember, Oklahoma. That was the big argument last year because K-State, and words I hate to say, but it's just kind of the feeling right now, and I think it's fair that right now they're kind of playing their way out of a bid right now. K-State, I believe, is 36th in the RPI. I think Oklahoma, when they got in last year, and I think they were the last or the second to last team to get in, and they shouldn't have been in over K-State, but they got in, and I think their RPI was 40.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Arizona was the other last team to get in, and it was right around that area as well. So K-State's flirting with it right now.
Hanging on by their fingernails.
Still plenty of opportunities to make up for an 8-10 April. These last 10 games, though, these last 10 have the numbers, you can see the trend on where K-State is going right now. Pitching has been a criticism this year. I'm not talking about from me, just getting the reaction from the fans that have been paying attention this year, and a lot of them are because this is supposed to be an NCAA tournament team. Right now they're kind of, I wouldn't say hanging on by a thread. They're still in the field, but they're trending in the wrong direction. Pitching has been inconsistent, but I will say I think Josh Winthrop has been a little bit better. Blake Dean has been better. Jackson Wentworth has been pretty solid, though he didn't have his, the last. He's made a couple of starts. He has pitched in his last 12 innings. He's given up 7 earned runs. That's an ERA of over 5. We've seen a better Jackson Wentworth. Tyson Rule is back, but he's not where he needs to be. Back into the bullpen, has struggled. It hasn't been horrible. As a matter of fact, the numbers actually recently have been better than average. So at least it's been a little bit better. My problems, though, is too many hit batters, too many free base runners early in innings. And teams have been doing a decent job of taking advantage of that. From the offensive side of things, that is certainly trending in the wrong direction. And that's where it's really surprising. Mm-hmm. It has been really surprising. Over the last 10 games where K-State has gone 5-5, and out of those games they've played just 4 at home and went 3-1. 3-3 in the Big 12. I'm just surprised to see in the last 10 games K-State's hitting .225.
Yeesh.
I'm just
and that includes a 7-run game in one of the 3 here at home a few weekends back.
I'm shocked that Chuck Ingram in the last 10 games is hitting .088. 3 for 34. He's in a major slump. I do expect him to get out of that. Hopefully it comes soon. Brady Day's hitting .189, and still his batting average, it's well over 300.
Yeah, he was red hot to start the year.
That is surprising. I do want to mention Jaden Parsons. I think Jaden Parsons has been awesome. Third baseman, he has taken over that job for Daniel Rivera. Rivera's had his struggles. I think Parsons, who played a lot of baseball at the D3 level, his last year of eligibility is here, And in these last 10 games, hitting .344, that's the best on the team. And this is a guy that did not start the first half of the year. Mm-hmm. He was rarely in the lineup.
Yep.
He was a backup. And now he has taken over the third base role. He's now your everyday guy. Kalen Culpepper has been hitting well. David Bishop, despite running into a gate in the last series in Manhattan, he's hitting just below 300. Brendan Jones has been a monster in stealing bases. He's one of the nation's leader in stealing bases, and he has hit 375. But, two guys that you're relying on to be your best hitters, they are older guys. You had Brady Day, who was a high draft pick not too long ago, and Chuck Ingram, who definitely has next-level talent and did such a great job at Wichita State. Those guys are too important to have struggle.
Yeah, 100%. And Chuck is fled a little bit with the K's. That's where I think his strikeout rate is super up, and I think he's pressing a little bit.
15 in the last 10.
Yeah,
that leads the team.
He's been pressing a little bit, and they tried him in the leadoff spot for a while, and it didn't work. And Hughes has been trying to slide him around, and he's doing the work and you can almost make the argument they're kind of slumping at the right time, because usually when you're coming out of that slump, you get hot. You don't usually just return to normalcy. Usually when you're coming out of a slump, you come out and you're hot. And if they could come out of this in the next two series, they're hot at the right time.
That has been something Pete Hughes has said to me before. Like when a guy is in a slump, or that maybe the team is in a slump, there are certain times you maybe prefer that to happen, but when they're out of it, watch out. K-State just as a team right now, they have certainly played better baseball. They're not even close to playing their best baseball. Hopefully they do get out of that stretch. But the thing is, K-State's been embarrassed in two of their last four games. Yep. That Friday game against TCU where it got just absolutely out of hand. And then last night.
Yep.
Just getting absolutely embarrassed. And it's yes, they're still an NCAA tournament team. There's a lot of games they would want back, of course. I mean, you look at the Tennessee game, the Clemson game, UConn, this Nebraska game. These midweek big games, K-State has really struggled. I mean, blown out, struggled in those games. I'm super optimistic, though. And I've said this before. I mean, it wasn't long ago where K-State's offense, I would argue, when they're playing their best, they might be the biggest offensive threat in the Big 12.
I would agree with you.
When they are playing their best baseball, numbers would have through the end of March, I think the numbers said that they are the biggest offensive threat in Big 12 baseball.
Let me break it down this way. What's the mark for the month of April? What was the record for the month of April?
8-10, right? Is that what you said?
8-10.
Well, April they went 8-10. March they were 14-5.
Okay.
Yeah.
April 8-10, 18 games. Of that, how many were home games versus road games?
It's 50-50.
Yeah, it's close. I thought. No.
No.
More home.
Nope.
Really?
Oh no. 6 home games.
Really? Because they don't have a ton of home games in May.
6 home games.
So 2/3 of that schedule
on the road. But they only won 3 away from home.
Yeah. That's tough.
So 12 games away from home, 3 wins. Go 3-9 away from Twinton Family Stadium.
Well, K-State has been really good at home this year.
True, but that's your April right there.
Yeah.
That's your month of April as to why K-State is struggling right now. They're not winning on the road. They're not hitting on the road. The bullpen has been questionable in middle of games, on the road especially.
Yeah, the bullpen's been difficult because I feel like at the beginning of the year, part of it was banged up and the other half was nails. We saw Tyson Neighbors go down, and we're getting some studly performances from some other guys, and now everyone feels pretty healthy, but we're not getting that high-level production from the bullpen. And again, this is not the reason I'm not worried is because this is not a talent issue. If this team was just bad, we wouldn't be talking about it to be abysmal, and we wouldn't talk about it because there's not much to talk about. The thing is, we're talking about it because this team is dang talented, and they've got about 9 games to figure it out before tournament time rolls around, and I think they're going to do it.
By the way, that would be even one win less if they hadn't had to hold on by their fingernails against Northeastern.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because that was a blowout early,
Yeah.
and then here comes Northeastern.
Yeah.
In other words,
Bullpen wasn't holding up.
you would have been looking at a 2-10 month on the road for K-State baseball
It was a long afternoon. I remember that one.
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just need sharper play early in innings from pitching. And if Chuck Ingram, Brady Day can get out of these slumps, boy, could that turn a lot around. That's where my optimism is. I still think this is an NCAA tournament team, but I think they're kind of beating themselves just by making mistakes
Yeah.
out of the NCAA tournament, but they're not out of it yet. This is a huge series. I mean, it's not just a rivalry. There's a lot riding on this weekend for both teams because KU had a great April.
Yeah.
K-State did not. Mm-hmm. But we're now in May. Mm-hmm. And this is where you want to get hot. It starts Friday. It starts at 6 o'clock. It's at Toyton Family Stadium. You're at home against the hottest team in the conference right now in KU. This is a big series.
Yeah, and like you said, one of the better road teams so far throughout this season. So that's
6-3 on the road in Big 12 play.
It makes me a little nervous. What I want to see on Friday night is just loose, fun baseball. Because if they come into this thinking, oh, this is a pressure cooker, it's a rivalry game, we got to play well, we've been struggling, we're going to see more of the same. And again, when you press in baseball, it doubles down the absolute worst possibility, right? Those swings and misses get worse and worse. So I just need some loose, free baseball. I need a 0-0 team on Friday to just go in there and have fun in front of a packed stadium.
Twice in hour 2, we will give away a pair of tickets to Friday's game, which first pitch again is at 6 o'clock. We'll have pregame coverage at 5:30 tomorrow here on News Radio KMAN. Let's take a break. When we come back, we once again ask Troy the big question about the Royals. Are the Royals doing okay? His answer after these words. Back on the game, Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and Owen Berg. No Royals baseball tonight, but they're back. Well, we won't have them tomorrow either.
Saturday night, post K-State.
Who's up next on the Royals schedule?
The defending world champions.
The Texas Rangers at Kauffman Stadium?
Yeah, they've been floundering a little bit lately, so not a bad matchup for the Royals to catch at this point.
When do they have Detroit next? Because Detroit, it's an interesting team. Their pitching is pretty good.
Yeah, can I talk about the craziest thing that's happened so far in the MLB season? And that is we are in the month of May, and there's 4 out of the 5 teams in the AL Central are above 500. That's insane.
Yeah, because of course, it's the White Sox.
Yeah, the White Sox are the worst team in baseball.
Terrible.
Yeah. And then you got 4 teams above 500.
Because the Central wasn't predicted to be great this year.
No, they were supposed to be the worst division of baseball this year.
Please, remember when you are discussing the worst team in baseball that you get the correct team. The Colorado Rockies, who are on pace to lose 123 games this season.
As of right now, I'm pretty sure you got one more extra win than the White Sox do, actually. I think you got 7, and they got 6.
Good Lord.
Not that that's a trophy race you want to be a part of.
Good Lord.
Troy, with the Royals having the day off today, it's a good time to once again ask the question, are the Royals doing okay?
How hard of a double take was it for you yesterday when you realized that they had won 17 games in the month of April?
That's a very hard double take.
Well, my double take was what's significant about those 17 wins in April.
Matched a franchise record for wins in a month.
Wow.
I would have guessed that was a little higher.
I would agree, yeah.
But it's baseball. And so,
True.
When you're looking at Major League Baseball, that's a pretty solid number when you realize, especially a month of April, let's be honest, but just in general, 17 wins in a month is a very good month. It's not an outstanding month. It's a very good month. But that tends to be the game. I mean, let's be honest. Who's winning at a 60% clip in most cases? We'll take that, though, for the Royals right now.
Yeah, you'll take that any day of the week. Any team winning 60% of your games.
By the way, at Baseball Reference, check this out. Playoff odds. 61%.
Ooh.
That's fair.
I love it.
After a month plus of baseball.
Get the Royals to the wild card.
Yes, the Royals are okay. The Royals are doing very well, actually. And it is in large part because the starting pitching has been tremendous. You'll have a hiccup. Brady Singer hasn't been the greatest. We saw the last time out, Michael Wacha struggled a little bit. But in general...
Cole Reagans, he had a really rough start not too long ago.
A couple of weeks back.
Was it a couple of weeks? Okay.
Yeah, a couple of weeks back against the Orioles.
That's right.
But has rebounded and performed well the last two times out.
He's a good kid.
And so, this rotation still is very solid and has posed no issues. Now, the question will be, what do they do going forward for that number 5 spot? Alec Marsh is set to come back shortly. They've still got to fill that for one more spot to get past his IL stint that he is currently on because of being hit by a liner a couple of games back. That is why you saw the call-up from Omaha. Bolin, who had a horrendous start in just managing a couple of innings and has been shipped back down to Omaha. So the question mark becomes, how do they fill that 5th role for this time around? But Marsh will be back in soon. He's been okay. And this starting group of pitchers likes being around each other. Commenting yesterday at the end of the game, when Lugo was pulled from the contest, that they were all gathered around in their huddle, if you will, quote unquote, talking about outcomes and what had taken place during that game. So you can tell that this is a group that enjoys being around each other, and that's what's driving in large part what's going on. Add in the fact that Salvador Perez has been solid at that 340 mark. Still unreal.
Solid.
340. Yeah, I know.
He's actually 355. I'm looking at it right now.
340 I knew going in to yesterday.
To yesterday, yeah.
Well,
and Bobby Witt Jr. has not had a very bad day yet this season, it feels like.
I told you yesterday, I heard on the broadcast that Salvi had 33 straight at-bats at the time without a strikeout. I was like, his strikeout-to-walk ratio for his career is not great. This season, it's pretty awesome for his reputation. But, Bobby Witt Jr. is an absolute stud that is going to carry Kansas City for a long time. Salvi was supposed to be washed up this year, yet he's leading the team. Batting average, home runs, RBIs. His on-base percentage is .418.
Pasquantino has come back somewhat from a bad start and has started to hit. Now he's got his average up to 221. An OPS of 729, but he's, again, that's rallying back from what had been a bad start.
Salvador Perez is 10th, or check that, is second on the team in walks.
Wow. He's also the Triple Crown batting average, home runs, and RBIs right now, too. So you can tally up top 3 in all 4 of those categories. You're doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, Salvi's been phenomenal.
Now, this is where this team does need to improve. You get past that, he and Bobby Witt in terms of batting average, there's nobody over 250.
Got some work to do.
Got some work to do. There is no doubt about that. But the starting pitching is keeping them in games.
Come on,
they're
Vinny.
19 and 13.
Come on, Vinny.
And it's May.
221. Come on, Vinny. All right, hour 2 of the game coming up next, including giving away 2 pairs of tickets for Friday's K-State baseball game against KU. And we'll play our annual game, Real or Fake Kentucky Derby Horse Names. Your local news in a few minutes.